Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, looking at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Modern Musings. I'm Amber Jones, and I'm here with my co-host, Kristen and Cindy.
Hello.
Well, we have a fun episode today, or at least, it's something near and dear to our hearts. This month, or January, is National Hobbies Month. So we're going to talk about hobbies.
Yay!
Yay!
And you know that it's near and dear to us because we talk about it all the time.
We
all
do.
the time.
We
I know.
do.
I was literally like, didn't we just talk about this, or maybe I just talk about it all the time?
Yeah, we do.
Well, we
talk
talked
our
about
hobbies.
projects. We did talk
Yeah.
about an update on our projects. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so hobbies. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be projects, just things that you do in your free time. That's really
right.
what is considered a hobby. Like, for example, I really like to do crossword puzzles. That is a hobby of mine.
I like to do geocaching. I haven't done it in a while, but that's one of mine. And we've talked about that too.
Yeah. Talked about crossword puzzles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reading.
We love to read, all three of us.
Watching TV.
Watching TV.
Watching
I
as
was
many
like,
movies and TV as
All
we
I
can.
can think of are the shows I'm watching right now.
Oh, okay. Well, Kristen, what shows are you watching right now?
Oh, well, I've been watching Outlander
Ooh, I need to
over
catch
and
up on
over
that
and
one.
over again because I've been
Yeah.
reading the books. So now I'm like,
Love Outlander.
every time I get through a book, rewatch the season.
That season, yeah.
Yeah, and I just finished watching Freaks and Geeks.
Oh, wow. I have
Yeah.
not seen that show in
So,
forever.
That's kind of one of my hobbies, and I mean, I know that's terrible to say because I don't consider that a hobby. I was just kidding, but
It's entertainment.
it's
Yeah,
entertainment.
it is,
I
but-
think of hobbies,
but
as
some
something
people,
kind
that
of
is their hobby,
constructive.
so.
Yeah, but I like to
Yeah, oh my
just
God.
binge watch like a certain show,
Yeah,
and I'll just watch
that's
like
right,
one
yeah.
thing at a time. So
That's the best way to binge watch. Like, how did we ever not have Netflix where we couldn't binge
know,
watch?
right?
I know.
Like, how
Well,
did
we had VCRs and we taped it, and
yeah,
then
we
went
taped
back and
it,
watched
or
it.
and then
And then you hoped you got all of it. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
No, I would say probably one of my hobbies right now is the diamond dots. I've
Oh,
been
I love
enjoying
those
doing
too.
diamond dots.
Yeah.
I have never done diamond dots.
Oh,
Those
they're
are
so
so fun.
relaxing. And you
Yeah.
can do it while you watch TV.
Right. Yeah.
My students really like diamond
Yeah.
dots.
They're
We
a lot of fun.
actually have like a hobby and craft club this year at my school, and the kids are really into
Oh,
diamond
that's
dots right
cool.
now.
Mm.
That's cool.
Well,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say I like crafting. I do all kinds of crafting, which we've
Mhm.
talked about a lot. Reading.
Yeah.
That's why I
Reading.
was wondering, like, maybe some things we haven't talked about before. Like, what was your first hobby?
Reading.
I think that was Amber's too, probably.
Gosh.
I crocheted. Yeah.
One of well, yeah, probably reading. I want to say like I used to sit with my grandma because I used to stay with my grandma a lot, and we would do collages.
Oh, fun.
And I still do collages. I love to do collages, but that was like probably one of my first hobbies was doing collages with my grandma, and of course crossword puzzles
Mhm.
because I would do crossword puzzles with my grandma.
I liked doing word search puzzles, and I baked. So like when I was in 4th grade, my passion was baking cookies, and I don't know how many times a week I would bake a bowl full of cookies up.
Mhm.
So that was one of my things that I loved doing.
Gosh, I was like, oh, what hobbies do I have? But I have a lot of hobbies because I love baking and
Mhm.
cooking as well.
I've gardened. I have gardened over the years, both
Mm-hmm.
both vegetable gardening and just kind of landscape gardening. And I used to have a huge hobby of miniature slot car racing. So my husband and I had a slot car club that we kind of ran with some friends of ours, and we would have
Mhm.
races every weekend, and we had point system and trophies and the whole 9 yards, and it was a lot of fun.
I would say like one that I did that I was younger, and actually like messing around with stuff in my house. I recently found the box of it, but I was really big on collecting Archie comics,
Oh yeah.
and I was like I've been off and on members of Archie comics clubs and talking about Archie comics and trading and stuff like that.
I
That was a hobby I had when I was younger, and I still have a box of Archie comics.
I collected Kiss memorabilia for a long time. In fact, I still have a lot of it. I'm trying to get rid of. Anybody want to buy it? No. But I also was a musician, so I had different kinds of music lessons. I played clarinet, guitar. I sang
Oh
in
yeah,
a
that can
band.
be considered
So
a
yeah.
hobby as well. I played clarinet and piano.
Mhm.
I still play piano, just not as well as I used to.
Practice.
What is that?
I know, right? I got a steel tongue drum for Christmas, and I've played it like a few times.
Let me clarify that. That was last year she got that for Christmas.
Yes, for Christmas last year. Thank you.
Year
Yeah.
before last.
No, it was last year.
It
not
was last
not
year.
this most recent Christmas, but the year before that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she was talking about it a couple of
Yeah. 'Cause that
episodes
was-
ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
My goal this year was to learn, and I mean, I taught myself how to play a tune on it, but I think of that as a really good hobby because I think that's something you could spend a little bit of time on. I think that's kind of like what makes something a hobby is that you kind of dedicate like some time.
Yeah,
to
I think
it.
so too. Yeah.
Mhm.
So do you think then that like exercise counts as a hobby?
Oh, absolutely, because some people really
A lot of
Dig into it,
people
yeah.
like really
Gym rats,
spend a
yeah.
lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
time
Gym
toning their
rats.
bodies
Kind of
and
derogatory, but
yeah, playing like a sport and stuff like that. And I suppose back when I used to do water aerobics, that was kind
Yeah.
of a hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I consider that a hobby.
So how is it derogatory?
because you're comparing them to rats.
Mall rats?
No, I know that it's a derogatory term.
Well,
It is. It's meant in a
I guess,
derogatory way. Yeah.
Originally, I suppose it was. I don't think that people consider it that now, or I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know anybody that goes to the gym enough to be able to like call them that, so I can't ask them that question.
Well, and it was the equivalent of saying gym bro. Because you know what a gym bro is, right? Same thing. So that's what it meant. Yeah.
Okay.
They were gym rats before there were gym bros.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But, there are
Yeah.
people who love it.
So would y'all consider collecting things a hobby?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So if we're doing entertainment and then of course collecting things, yeah.
Yeah, collecting, there are stamp collectors and coin collectors, and you have collections that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
because even shopping, like the act of hunting for it is
part of
partaking
the
in
hobby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Oh, well then that's like my favorite hobby
Well,
right there.
some people like to garage
Shopping.
sale. Some people like to
Oh.
garage sale,
Oh,
and that's
yeah.
that
yeah.
was my mom.
Or
That
estate
was,
sales, or,
garage sale and estate
yeah.
sale.
Antiquing. Yeah.
Shopping, yeah. Shopping is definitely a favorite hobby of mine.
Sewing.
Mm-hmm.
I quilt a little, not well, but a little.
Mhm.
Hey, your seams stay together is good enough.
Most of the time.
So, if y'all could start a new hobby like today, what new hobby?
If I didn't have to restrain myself, because I always do, because I have like a list of things that I'm like, ooh, wouldn't that be fun? But,
Right?
restrain yourself. I have on my craft matrix, my list of crafts that I can and can't do right now because, I'm
You're
trying not to
doing
start
a bunch
projects.
of other, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying not to start new projects, but I want to do rock painting.
Okay.
Rock painting.
Mm-hmm. It's
We
been on
never
my
did
list for
start
like 3
doing
years.
the jewelry hobby that
I
you and
know.
I
Yeah,
were going to
I've thought
do
That's
like
the
2
other
years
one
ago.
on there
I've thought about
too.
jewelry and
Oh,
resin.
and then the floral arrangement hobby that we were going to do a few months ago, we never started that either.
Because those are crafts. Like you could do one, and I'm afraid they'll become a hobby.
Right.
Well, that is definitely something that I have wanted to try my hand at, is like making like floral wreaths, stuff like that, like as a hobby. And then the jewelry thing as well. Like I've really been wanting to. I mean, I've dabbled in making jewelry. I've made some earrings and necklaces and stuff like that, but I wanted to like really kind of pick it up and design jewelry and just try my hand at it.
Okay. Well, my thing has been lately, I've kind of been enamored of colored glass. So anything that involves colored glass or glass-like things. So stained glass, I've been wanting to do like some stained glass items. Fused glass, so that's where you put it in a kiln and you melt it down till it fuses to itself. Really
they have
cool.
some classes.
I know.
I definitely. We should do that as like a Modern Musings outing hobby.
I know.
Do like a glass blowing class or something.
Glass
like that.
blowing would be fun.
That's another thing I've always wanted.
Yeah,
to
me
try
too.
To do.
Me too.
Have you ever done pottery on a wheel?
That I've been interested into.
When I was younger, my mom. Oh, this was a really long time ago, like elementary, young. My mom bought me like a little kid's pottery wheel. So, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I used to love doing like all kinds of weird stuff like that. My mom bought me a bead maker, so I used to make beads.
The paper beads?
Yeah, the paper beads.
Oh, those
my
are
gosh.
fun.
I have that.
And then the little pottery wheel. And then I had a easy bake oven that I used to bake all the time. And then I had this thing called creepy crawlers. Did you know what that is?
Oh, is that where you pour the things in the
candy?
molds?
Yeah, where you made little gummy molds and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I used to do that all the time. And I used to do the pottery wheel all the time and the collaging all the time. And then my mom gave me her old typewriter, and I used to just type, whether it was like weird words or gibberish.
Oh my gosh. So I got a typewriter one year for Christmas too, when I was like 9. And it was this cute little brown one, and I used to just like type a bunch of random letters.
Yeah.
Like, I think because that was when like we just barely started getting a computer in the house.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And like we were like the first people I'd ever met that had a computer in the house.
Well, we had one of those even before Dad and I got married, because he had one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the little the typewriter was kind of funny because it was like, why would I need a typewriter
When there's a computer.
when there's a computer? But I did have fun playing with it.
But guess what I have over here? I
A
have
typewriter.
2 typewriters, because sometimes the look for your crafting
It's different.
It's different, yeah. So I like
used
to type
love
things.
messing with my mom's old, because she got a computer because she had a computer degree, and so she gave me her typewriter. I used to love that. I used to pretend I was a reporter, and so I would go and interview people. Well, my parents, because there was just us around the house, maybe my granny. And then I would type up a weekly like house bulletin when I was younger. So like some
That's
kids were
cute.
outside like playing in the mud, and I was inside typing up the house bulletin.
That's funny. I actually just remembered. I was like, golly, I don't remember what my first hobby was, but I remember sitting in front of that computer and painting on the
super paint.
super paint.
We had super paint. Yeah.
It was like way better than Microsoft Paint. Like
gosh, yes.
It was more like Photoshop.
It was as close to Photoshop as I've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man, and I used to just make all kinds of designs, and I just drew and drew and drew and colored and filled with the bucket and like inverted the image, and I did crazy stuff. Like, and I would do that for hours.
So she was typing and writing things. And she's an English teacher,
yeah.
and writing things, and you were doing art.
Gee.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
When you look back at it that way,
I know, right? Right?
I
It's
another
kinda
hobby that I
interesting.
did when I was around that age was I wrote my own comic book, really.
Oh,
Like I had
cool.
like I mean, I can't draw at all, so like it was stick figures and weird looking figures with like one big hand and one small hand because I can't draw people. I like abstract art because then I didn't have to, so that I don't have to like draw people. But it was like little Picasso people, and I had like my own little like comic series, and I had like notebooks and notebooks of drawing stick figure-y people in their
Yeah,
comic series.
It's funny
Wow.
that you talk about doing that, and I remember being in like 4th and 5th grade, and friends would I would write stories, but they were and y'all are gonna laugh at this because they were horror stories. People would tell me the ghost stories that they knew, and then I would write them out as a story, and like 4th grade, I did this all the time, and all the way up through high school, I was writing stories, short
Yeah.
stories or whatever, and it was just usually something based on something somebody else told me, and then I would
yeah,
embellish on
elaborate.
it and elaborate. Yeah, and so I was always writing, always writing.
I used to, cause one of my hobbies always has been listening to music, playing music, listening to music, music in general. And I used to fantasize when I would listen to music, like I would see pictures in my mind of different stories and different things. So a lot of my short stories when I was younger were based on songs.
Huh.
Like my interpretation
Yeah.
of
Oh,
what the
yeah.
song was. And yeah, so and same with poetry. When I used to write poetry, it was all based on songs.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think like when I started writing, it was other than like the little comic book thing. I started, well, like back around that time, 2nd, 3rd grade. They start teaching you how to write poetry, limericks, and stuff like that. And I used to always and I wrote just like lots and lots of bad poetry, and I still have all of those poems mostly.
Wow.
And yeah, I need to make like a scrapbook about it. But I have like all of my old poems that I found, or not all of them, but ones that I found on little scraps of paper and stuff like that. And I've kept all those little scraps of paper.
Cool.
I think
Yeah.
that'd be a hobby I'd like to pick up, is writing poetry.
I enjoy writing poetry. I did a little when I was like younger, like high school, junior high school, whatever. I haven't done it in years, except during our one little word. We always have a poetry prompt these last
Yeah.
few years, and I always enjoy the poetry prompt because I don't know, it's just really cool. I like it a lot. I know at first it was very daunting, but I found that when I just kind of relax into it, it comes. And there's so few rules about poetry.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
there are no rules.
Right, because, but I was
can be what-
raised
it can
on,
be
it
what it
has
is.
to rhyme, and you have to have this kind of meter, and that was the traditional thought.
Kids still think that. And,
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
to explain it to them that you don't have to rhyme.
Right.
Poetry is what it is.
Yeah.
Although, I'm pretty good at rhyming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wrote music, so, I tend to
Yeah.
try to rhyme also, just from my songwriting days. But yeah. I want to ask about, a lot of people have like gaming as a hobby. Here's my question for you guys. When does a hobby become an obsession or an addiction?
Everything, since I'm very like OCD and very like well, I guess just like I don't know what I was going there, but a lot of my hobbies or things that I do kind of become obsessions.
Yeah.
And
I
like
think-
I do
well, I
it
think
and I
a
do
lot
it
of
and I do
people's-
it and I do it and
yeah.
I do
For
it.
me, if I'm not obsessed about it, it's probably not worth doing.
Yeah.
That's
so
kind of me, like when I put my energy into stuff.
Well,
it's
I mean,
because
I think a lot of
really
people
like it.
feel that way about a hobby, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about when does it go
Well,
too
okay,
far?
So an obsession to me is when you're doing other things and you think about it, or you're talking to other people and you always draw the conversation to it, right?
Okay.
Like, so that's
Uh-huh.
obsession.
So that's the
Yeah.
obsession.
Okay, so that's not harmless, or
It is
it
harmless.
is harmless, right? Whenever it becomes like on that dangerous level, whatever word you used earlier, is when it starts interfering
with your regular.
with the things that you regularly
Yeah,
do.
you can't
So, like,
eat, you can't sleep because you're
or
if
you're
you're
not
playing
doing the things you need to do.
yeah, if
right?
you're
Yeah.
playing a game and you're obsessed with the game and you're not eating, you're not sleeping, you're not working and
Well,
you're
do you
just
have to be not eating and not sleeping for it to be?
Okay, well you're just
I mean-
it's interfering with your normal day-to-day life.
Okay.
So I guess
or
a normal
relationship,
your relationship. So like
Yeah.
a normal day to day would be eating and sleeping and working, right? So
Right.
if like this hobby you
Takes over any one
take
of those or
over
whatever.
any of
Right,
that, like
and
if
that's
you leave work early or you don't go to work just to do this thing, you know?
Right.
right. Or you miss out on the things that people call adulting now, like paying
Right.
your bills
Right.
Yeah.
on
right.
time because your
Well,
hobby
and,
is
you know,
now
I'm-
You're spending all your
costing you.
money on
Well,
that
that's what I was
hobby
gonna
and
go
You're
for.
not paying your bills.
That was what I was working towards because, I mean, there are like gamers, there is they've come up with this thing that said there is a such thing as gaming addiction because people get an endorphin rush, from playing
Mhm.
games. But that's not the only downside
it.
of that, or the only symptom of that is not just playing games too much, because it could also just be spending too much money on it, because if you can't stop buying the materials to perform your hobby,
Right.
or you can't quit collecting teapots, or I know, so I'm not calling you out there, no.
Mine
But,
would be books.
or coffee cups or books or whatever, if you can't
And see-
stop yourself
and
from
see
it.
like and see that's my problem with some things is
Yeah.
that like I will go to the extreme. Like I will be like I need
I
to,
want all of them.
I need like their Target's having like a sale or whatever. I need these books, and then I will like spend $100 just like on books,
Right.
and or something like that, or even with anything like Torrid is having a sale, so I must go and drop $1,000 on clothes. Not that I do that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I
But
have
there
a
are people
problem
who
with
do.
taking things to
Right.
the
Right.
extreme.
I think with that too, you have to think about like there's nothing wrong with spending $100 on books if you can afford it and you have the space for it. But
Right.
if the time
Well, I
spent
can and
acquiring
do.
the books is keeping you from actually reading them, or you get to that point where you can't
I
even
read
sit,
the books.
you can't even sit in your chair and read your book because
Right.
you have
Or you've
no
spent your
space to
rent
sit.
money buying books.
and now you have to get evicted because
Right.
you can't afford to rent. Like,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
I see where you're going with that.
Yeah.
No, I have plenty of space.
Some people like, let's say like people who repair cars.
Mhm.
Sometimes they'll
That is also
acquire-
a hobby.
Yeah, exactly.
That's often a very.
That's why I'm
a
going
hobby.
for that one because it doesn't hit on anybody here because none of us do that.
Right.
So
Thank God.
no one can be defensive about this, okay? Except maybe a listener mechanic guy. So they will get a car like, oh, this one I'm gonna fix it up, right? And it's in the
Yes.
driveway, and then you work on it, and then you go and get another one, and it's sitting in the driveway.
And they're both sitting in the driveway.
And then you got another one sitting in the driveway, and then sure enough, you got your acre lot is covered in rusty old cars.
Right.
And you haven't worked on any of them, but you're collecting the cars.
Right. And now, because you have acquired too many of your hobby, the love interest is kind of gone away.
Right.
Yeah, because you have too many cars.
Yeah. With it.
Right.
And
but now you're overwhelmed by it.
Now you're over.
Right.
It's almost like it's obsessed with you because every time you look at it, you're like, oh, there's a thing I need to do.
Right.
And then you beat yourself up about it because you don't do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
just start with
crafters,
one car.
crafters do that too.
Yeah.
We collect
with all the projects
and all these projects, and then we do this thing where they just sit there, and then you're beating yourself up because you haven't finished this project that you spent all this money on. So yeah.
That's how I feel about writing sometimes, is like I'll start something and then I move on to something else, but then I'm like, oh, but I need to go finish that.
Yeah.
But like the thought leaves me. So, then there's 20 open stories that I've started, and it's like, well, I should go back. But I don't know. It's also like Elizabeth Gilbert's concept of big magic. Like if the thought leaves you, then it has already gone to somebody else, so you should just go on with a new thought as far as writing is concerned.
Right. But
unless you're you have a publisher. And
I know there are some well-known authors who talk about the process of writing, and other crafters that I've known that stand by this idea also, is that like when you get to that point and you're looking at those, 3 unfinished stories or whatever, is just go sit down and write something. Even if it's bad, or go create something, even if it's bad art, just do it. Because if you get yourself in that consistent habit of doing it, even though you feel
easier,
it'll get easier, and you'll get out of that stump or that block or whatever. So, and then there are other people who say, if you're stumped and it's not appealing to you right now, walk away. Just walk away, and don't look back. Or maybe look back a year from now and see if you're still interested in it or whatever. There's so many different ideas about how to deal with that. And since it's a hobby, since it's something that is non-essential to your life, there's no rules that say you have to finish it. Any pressure to finish anything is from yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So it's okay to say, I'm not going to finish this. I'm going to pass it on to somebody who will, or I'm going to, I never advocate chunking things in the trash, because our landfill is full of things that people have just chunked in the trash. But either gift it to someone else, or
now you don't have to, because everything's digital. You just throw it out into the ether.
Some hobbies, not all hobbies are digital though.
Crocheting, like if you crocheted a scarf and you gave up halfway and you're like, you know what, crocheting's not for me, you can still donate that, because they'll sell the yarn, and I've seen people take that apart and make something else
out of it. Yeah, absolutely. So same thing with half sewn clothing or whatever, any kind of craft supplies like that. So yeah, there's no hard and fast rule that you have to finish it. But if it is something that, if you look at it and in your heart, you want to finish it, then that's the answer to how to finish it, is to just chip at it a little bit. Go write a word, put a word on the piece of paper. And then maybe tomorrow when you come back, you can add another word to it or whatever. So, yeah.
So very true. And then that's so funny. It reminds me of like something that I did the other day. I wrote like a sentence and then I left it, and then I haven't gone back to it.
Yeah. Well, I do that too sometimes, if I'm writing a blog or something, and I'll start something and I'm like, I don't know what to do next. And I'll just put a word, a, today, yesterday, whatever comes to my mind, and I just walk away, and because I can't think of what I want to put next, but I walk away, and then if I come back later or I come back the next day or whatever, sometimes the idea is that I can pick up from that and just go on.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That's some really aggressive hobbying.
It is. But I'm a finisher.
She makes it all work.
It is.
I'm like, let's do some puzzles.
Well, I do. That's another good one. Puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
I do like puzzles. But for me, everything is about finishing the project. I'm a perfectionist. Remember, we did that Enneagram thing, right?
Yeah.
Everything must be finished. I have to finish
That's
it.
how I feel about like books. Like I won't just like put down a book.
Me either.
Yeah.
That's
Even
why.
if it's
That's why I'm
session.
still reading ACOTAR.
Even
right
if it's
now.
a bad book, I will keep
It's
picking
such a
it up
bad
and just
book.
forcing myself through it.
I had
Absolutely.
a whole therapy session about that because
ACOTAR.
about finishing. Oh yes, that one took me to the.
Did
the
you
bin.
ever finish it? Because I still haven't finished mine.
No. But I had checked out some books from the library, and I was telling my therapist. This was a while back, maybe 2020. I was telling her about my goals for reading. Because she asked me what my goals were, and I said, well, I want to read 25 books this year. And this was like in March, April. I think it was April. And she was like, oh, really? How many have you read so far? And I was like, I'm still on the first one. And I told her that I was like really struggling because I just couldn't get through the book. And she was like, well, why are you still reading it? And I was like, because I have to finish it. And she was like, no, you don't. And, and I was also stressed out, too. I was, like, punishing myself because it was a library book, and I'd already, like, paid fees on it or whatever because I hadn't turned it back in. And she was like, I want you to go home and get that book and take it to the library and put it in the thing. And I did. And I never looked back, Yeah. And it was like, oh, I have permission to, like, quit something.
Yeah.
I'm not a failure.
Do you know, though, that's a problem, too, because we're all taught not to quit. Don't quit. Don't stop. Just keep going. Mm-hmm. Just push yourself through it. And so we often feel like we have to do it. How many people are stuck in hobbies that they don't enjoy anymore, but they've bought all these supplies.
Just have to finish it, yeah.
And they don't want to get rid of the supplies because they spent all this money.
They bought all this stuff.
Yeah.
And, well, a lot of people regret money and spending money on stuff. And, sometimes I feel that way too. But, like, I just have to look at it as, like, if once the money's gone, you're never getting it back.
Exactly.
So you can't regret. Because then you'll spend your whole time regretting spending that money, buyer's remorse or whatever.
Yep.
But you just have to pretend like you never had it. Like if you're going to spend your money on something, you just got to like go forward.
You know what? That's actually one of the things that like the decluttering people talk about is that once you've spent the money on it, consider that the entertainment of acquiring the item.
Right.
Because if you bought
you got your money out of it by buying
acquiring it.
Yeah.
And that's the hobby that you need to let go of. Actually,
the acquiring more things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I agree. Mm-hmm. So what do you do? How many hobbies are too many hobbies?
Well, that's a good question. I would say no more than 7.
Did you just pull that number out of the air?
There's
because
7
you
days
have
of the week.
Oh, one for each day of the week. Okay,
gotcha,
I see that.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, what if you read every day of the week?
There's 24 hours in the day,
well,
so
this is true.
You can tap on each of those at least 3 times and have 3 hours to sleep.
3 hours to sleep. Yeah, that's about what I get anyway, right?
I think like the hobbies, like I read every day, and I
do
think,
too.
and I work my crossword puzzles almost every day. I think those are like my 2 hobbies that I do every day, and every other hobby is like maybe once to twice a week. Like, although I don't know, I'll get obsessive about my ancestry hobby, and I'll do it every day for like 5 days, and then I won't touch it for like 5 weeks, and then I'll get on there and I'll mess with it.
Uh-huh.
I'll mess with my family tree again.
Yeah.
And I think like you know, I'll do I bought my husband for Christmas this last Christmas an ancestry DNA kit. So
Oh.
he's waiting for the results of that. So
Fun.
I've been really kind of obsessive again about
I need
Oh,
to
doing
'cause
my
it's a
ancestry
new-
stuff.
I need
whole
to
new
see
family
them because
tree
I
you
need
get
to see.
look at.
Yes.
I need to see if
Yes.
he's related to me because I have Jones in my family tree. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So-
see like yeah, so I'm back with like obsessing, and yeah, I have started doing his family tree on
Uh-huh.
my family tree.
I was obsessed with the family, doing my genealogy research for a while. That was a huge hobby of mine. Photography, I did that one too. And a lot of that's kind of why a lot of my stuff melded into scrapbooking because
Yeah.
it fits that way. The photographs and the genealogy
Mhm.
became family stories, became current family stories. So I do a lot of that, and I do like travel books and stuff. And my latest one that I kind of started doing was when I go um, on a trip. I've been doing these little travel journals while I'm
Mhm.
gone, and doing like watercolor and sketching and journaling.
That's
on my
another
trip.
hobby that I've been wanting to like, well, not travel journaling, but like junk journaling.
Uh huh.
That's another
That one's
hobby
fun.
that I
And
wouldn't
cards.
mind.
I like doing cards too. Yeah. I like junk journaling. It's a lot of fun because it's like it's kind of like the poetry thing. There are no
Mhm.
rules.
Yeah.
You could do whatever you want with it. So yeah, that one's a good one. It's very expressive. So.
Well, I felt like the burn book thing that we did several months ago
Yeah.
was kind of a form of junk journaling.
Yes,
and
it
I
was.
kind of
Yeah.
really wanted to keep
Yeah.
my book.
Totally.
Because,
Yeah. I know. I took pictures of my book.
yeah.
I
so,
did too because I want to make another one. I was obsessed with that. That
Yes,
was so
it was
cool.
fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So like that whole thing. So yeah, I'm gonna say like I fall on and off of stuff like
Mhm.
that. Like with your photography, like I guess another hobby of mine is like my Instagram account with
Mhm.
the food photography and the coffee photography.
Right.
Like I'll go like several months and not mess with that, and then I'll get back on
Yeah.
it, and I'll go like a several months where I'm always posting my
Mhm.
food and stuff like that. So I'm not like trying to be an influencer, so there are no rules to. Now,
Yeah, you're
of
not
course, if it's like your job and your job is to do food photography, then you have to do it every day.
Right.
Or if your job is writing, then I'd have to do it every day,
Mhm.
which is why I've never
But it's why it's a
took
hobby
a
and not
job
a
as
yeah.
a writer.
Well, and another one of my things that I do, you were talking about doing your crosswords every day, and I have a couple of little games on my phone that I play every day.
Mhm.
It's like 5 minutes at a time, and I do Duolingo. I'm trying to learn French. Not very good at it at all, but I'm trying to.
May we?
And so I do that every day. So that's it's kind of a hobby to learn French.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I know. I play my game on my phone. Actually have over 90 games on my phone. So I guess you
Wow.
could say I'm a phone game person. Like that's a hobby of mine is to
Mhm.
play games.
I have 5 games on my phone.
I know. I was talking to one of my friends who actually is like a gamer, but they play on like real consoles,
Uh-huh.
not phones. And I was shocked that she only had 5 games on her phone. I was like, am I just weird? Because I have
But you don't have you don't play on a console. So.
No, but I love to play games on my phone. So you will find me if I'm on my phone. I don't scroll like on Facebook and stuff. I love to play my game, and
Right.
like the one that I play like religiously, I have logged in like every day for like 4 years,
Right.
almost 5 years now. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say that's a hobby.
It is a hobby.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing it every day and it's
Yeah.
entertaining and it's something
Yeah.
you do, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, I understand about like the game thing. You know, I only have like 5 games, but
I think I only have 4 or 5 too. Yeah.
but yeah, I'm not really like I've never really been like a gamer, so or even off of the phone and anything.
I did like the console games. You know, we had the Nintendo and all that stuff, and
Well, yeah, I did.
I
that
did
when
all
I was
those
younger.
when I was younger, but I don't have time for it. So.
Like Jason has an Xbox that he doesn't have time for, and
Yeah.
I think
I
that's
don't-
because the games now are so advanced and
They
so
yeah,
are.
you
They're
have
very-
to pay 100% attention to
They're
them.
really time consuming too.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah, and so I
time-consuming.
just never have wanted to sit down and like do like this whole story game thing.
Yeah, because I
Mhm.
mean, it's very different than playing Duck Hunt and Super Mario.
See,
Brothers
I'll
or
go
what-
and play Tetris all day long.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I know that's what's funny is that's the game that you could just play for like 30 seconds and quit, but you could play all day long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, when I was younger, my parents and we would have game tournaments like
Oh, yeah.
on the Atari. We would play see how long we could play Asteroids. And I want to say like we would go hours
Mhm.
and we would have a tournament and we would have like score sheets
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And you know, like my parents would, you know, like we'd tag each other in if we had to go to the bathroom and we'd just sit and we would play. We had, my mom had this notebook of score sheets, like high scores and stuff like that. And we had Dr. Mario, we had Tetris, we had Asteroids, we had Space Invaders. And that was like, nowadays, like I just can't do like the whole big story game.
Right.
Well, I guess enough about hobbies. Let's what are we talking about next week?
Next week, we're talking about compliments and how you can make someone's day better.
Awesome.
Very
That'll
nice.
be very nice. Well, before we go, we want to thank our listeners when send us an email about your hobbies at info@modernmusings.net and check out our website modernmusings.net and our Facebook group MMC Chat. And we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.